how we personally, our finance personally, be resilient so that we won't be affected as much with the current economic situation. Okay, so basically I'll cover the current Malaysian's financial landscape. Well, I'll do a little bit introduction of us, Wealth Vantage, and then I'll go into sections, which first will cover about current Malaysian's financial landscape. The second section is the economic stimulus package, what's in it for me, and then the third one is managing my cash flow, which is financial lifeline. Then we'll go straight to Q&A. Okay. So a little bit of introduction. So we are, if you haven't heard about us, it's Wealth Vantage Advisory. So you can actually look us up. Well, perhaps you can see more of us on the net later. So we are actually a financial advisory and planning firm, licensed by Securities Commission, Bank Negara Malaysia, and also FAME. So we are active in financial wellness, education and literacy. So we've done lots of financial wellness programs, especially around this MCO, and yeah. So we also have corporate partnership with financial wellness. So you can see why I'm here as well. So we are on Naluri. So feel free to approach our financial channel. I'll be one of the financial coaches over there. Okay, all right. So a little bit about me. So I'm a licensed financial planner and advisor. I actually graduated with Masters of Engineering in Electronic and Computer Engineering. And I have a big, I have 10 years around there, 10 years experience working for an NGO. Well, currently still working for an NGO. And yeah, so basically when I first got back from the UK, it is actually more on personal experience that made me shifted to financial industry. So if you, I can, I've gone through that, that stressful experience where I think, I need to equip myself. So that is also why I think by equipping myself, I think then, why not? Then I should make other people aware about financial mistakes so they don't get into the same mistakes like I was before. Okay. So let's go through section by section. So current, we're going to go through current Malaysian's financial landscape. So as we know that gloomy days expected, well, perhaps it's not expected, we are already in. And plus, this is the situation that we have never faced before. So we can see that there are people actually panic about this situation. And because of this coronavirus, there's also market uncertainties threaten to pose an unprecedented challenge at global scale. And this also has impacted the gross domestic product, and which is GDP. So it has shrink Malaysia's real GDP by 1%. And because of that as well, MIER projected that job losses could be an estimated around 1.56 million. So this is, alarming as well. Okay, so, so next, but having said that, this is the, okay, so even though in this current situation, but the fact that most Malaysians do not have sufficient emergency savings, that is also alarming, because this data that we got is actually from 2018. So it's even big. So that 50% of Malaysians have difficulties to raise 1,000 ringgit for emergencies. So the impact will be, if you can't, if you don't have this 1,000 ringgit for emergencies, then if, well, touch wood, if you are retrenched, then that is when you feel that the stress, the stress start building up. Okay, and next is 1 in 5 working adults said that they did not save in the past 6 months, and 3 in 10 individuals have to borrow money to buy basic needs. So this is alarming, and only 24% could survive up to 3 months. And looking at this, so if one got retrenched, and if you need approximately estimated within 6 months to get a new job, then you can only survive half of the period. So that's an alarming issues even before the pandemic. Okay, so then most Malaysians are not financially prepared. So this is what I think I've mentioned before. Is that well, according to this study, it's just 6.2% survey respondents saying that they are less financially affected by the MCO, and more than half is severely affected. So yeah, hopefully we are not one of them. But then if we even if we got retrenched or our income is affected, we hope that that we are financially resilient to face that situation. Okay, so these are the topmost financial worries. So most of them revolve around medical emergencies, monthly commitments where people cannot support their dependents, well, because of the income is affected, and not having enough money to pay monthly bills, all sorts of things. So the second section will be covered around economic stimulus package and what's in it for us. Okay, so so as we all know that we are given 6 months automatic loan moratorium from banks, which well, this includes housing loan, car loan, and all. Well, not including credit card. And so you are also given optional where you can opt for 3 months insurance or takaful contribution holiday, but this one you have to apply, it's not automatic. And 500 ringgit EPF withdrawal from account 2 for 12 months, and up to 1,500 PRS withdrawal per PRS provider. Okay, so and this one is for all the electricity usage and also free 1 gig internet usage per day during MCO. And also depending on eligibility, you can also apply for government financial assistance, which also called PPN. So important information on moratorium. So which is housing, car, so it's automatic enrollments, and also what I mentioned before. So credit cards are not covered, but then it can be reduced by converting to term loan. But okay, so credit card has high interest rate, but term loan will be slightly less than credit cards. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so should you take up the financial initiative? Okay, so when you want to see whether you should take up the financial initiative, is first you have to understand whether first, do you have a monthly cash flow deficit? Why do you need to understand this? Is because during this time where moratorium is given, well, because that is the most big impact to us can help us reset our finances. So if we have a monthly cash flow deficit, this is the time where we can reset back our finances and see what we should, whatever we have to cut and all, and make sure that it's not deficit anymore. And then, do you have outstanding credit card balances? Okay, so talking about outstanding credit card balances, I have a good story about my client about these credit card balances. So he got a credit card about around 15,000 and personal loan as well. But then during this moratorium, he already managed to pay it off everything. So now it's the time for him to build the funding. So that is one of the ways why if you have credit card balances, then it's good if you can use this money to pay it off. Okay, so and next is, do you have insufficient emergency funding up to 6 months of your monthly expenses? So why do you need this? Is because when you don't have emergency funding, you can use this loan, housing loan, all those loan repayment that you don't have to pay, and use it to build up your emergency funding. So as to make sure that you are resilient from from other external factors like job loss and all, and not just job loss, but everything like emergencies. Then do you feel that your main source of income will be affected during during or post MCO? Then we think you should take up the financial initiative, because that is when it will help you be prepared with the unanticipated event. Okay, so but first on, but it is important for you to understand whether which category are you in. So whether you need to whether you need it or you need not. Okay, then why is it important to take up this financial initiative and start resetting your finances? It's because one, if you have a poor financial management, then this will impact. Poor financial management can be spending spending like nobody, and all sorts of things. So this will impact your savings, because then it will mean that it's difficult for you to save. Then it also means that you have low emergency funds. So if anything happens, if there's any unanticipated unanticipated events occur, then that is when you will get into debt issues, because when you don't have emergency funds, usually what people do is your credit card is your emergency funds. Well, I'm not saying this for you to use your credit card. What I'm saying is the usual case is when someone has no a go-to fund for this emergency, they will use credit card as their emergency fund. But in fact, when they don't even have when they don't even can afford to pay, because they don't have this fund available, that is when they are accumulating interest, and to the extreme, you will get into bankruptcy. So we don't want this, but this is the extreme situation. When people get into credit card debts, then it will followed by personal loans, because you want to cover your credit card debts. Then it start again, and then but the main cause is actually poor financial management. And then because you need the money, that is when you get stuck with get rich scheme, if someone to offer you this kind of scheme. And then that is actually based on all again impacting your poor financial management. So let's see common financial mistakes. So first is paying minimum credit card monthly repayment. So this is a financial cost because you don't see what you see is you are paying 5%, and well, I actually have met a prospect who is seeing credit card as like a loan repayment. So she said, why should she settle off the debts when she can pay the minimum? But in fact, what you don't see is, even though it's looks like it's 1.5% interest of outstanding, but in fact, when accumulated, it is actually 18% per annum. So even if you have investment outside, you can't get investment return of well, you can, but it's difficult to even hedge this interest rate. Okay, desire and emotion. So this is common where this is considered as financial cost. So you tend to buy something unnecessary. Personal loan, so financial cost because high interest rate, but then it depends also, it depends on situation. It's not that, but looking at it, if you can opt for personal personal loan, personal loan, and then you can pay the loan repayment. So it also means that you can save up that amount. So if you save up the same amount, perhaps a few years before you want something, then it will get you more. So you don't have to pay the installment. You don't have to get a loan to pay the loan installment. So refinance. If you want to refinance, then you have to understand why do you need to refinance, because sometimes when we asked when we ask a person what do you want, why you want to do this refinancing, then they will just, it's just because they will get the money. So you have to understand why, because that will incur more financial cost to you. Okay, additionally, additional monthly debt repayment. And during this time, if you feel that, well, sometimes people think that medical insurance is the what do you call it? The burden at this point of time. But I think since most of you is from AXA and all, I think you may not seen it that way, but this is common issue. So when one is surrendering medical insurance, then there's a financial risk over there. And well, high insurance premium. So one has to make sure that he has an appropriate insurance plan, and it's good to have a yearly insurance review. So with all the mistakes, all these things will bug you, and wow, so that is very, very stressful situation. So we've talked earlier about the concept of financial wellness, right? So when it comes to financial wellness, it also affects your stress. So that is when Naluri is actually having whereas there's clinical psychologists, professionals that can address this issue and all. And but one of the main reason why it's important to manage personal finance is so that we can reduce one main factor that contributes to our personal well-being, because one of our one of the factors that affect our financial, our well-being is finances. So at least taking care of this part means that we taking care of one part of the factor that can affect our wellness. So a little bit of activity. So this one you don't have to answer on the chat. It's just for you to answer yourself. So answer the question. So 1, do you find yourself dwelling in regret? Do you think about money you've lost or financial mistakes you've made in the past? Second question, do you have fearful thoughts about your financial future? Are you afraid you'll never have enough to retire or live the life you want because of lack of money? Are you losing sleep because of financial stress? Do you find yourself awake in the middle of the night thinking about your financial problems? Or do you feel powerless or experience a loss of control or when it comes to money? Maybe you worry about how the economy, stock market, or other forces might impact your income or investment. Does money impact your relationships? Because have you had arguments with your spouse, partner, or other family members over finances? Or are you jealous of friends with more money? Yes or no? And have you ever kept a secret about money or found it difficult to be honest about it? Have you ever lied about a purchase, a debt, or a financial decision? And has your health been impacted by financial stress? Does your body feel stressed when you think about money? I mean, like tense muscles, upset stomach, agitation, or exhaustion? So now tally your yes answer. So if you answer yes to 0 to 2 questions, then it means that you either have no financial stress or you are very effective at managing it. But if you answer yes to 3 or 4 questions, so it means that financial stress has started to affect you. But if you got that 5 or 6 questions, yeses, then financial stress may be a major factor impacting your peace of mind and well-being. But if it's yes to all 7, then it means that you have a financial stress crisis. Okay, so that's a little bit of quiz. So, and also, stress is distracting, and when you worry about your financial wellness, you lose focus and become less engaged at home and in the office. So it will affect our productivity at home and also at office. Okay, so now since we've gone through that section, so now it's about what can we do about it. How are we going to manage our cash flow, and this is about our financial lifeline. Okay, so of course we work and we want to earn money, and we spend. So then we save. We call it financial tank. And this financial tank, when you save, of course, it's for something, right? For goals that you want to achieve. Like, for example, it can be, if you're single, perhaps you want to get married, or perhaps you want to buy more property. Well, not more property, or perhaps new property, or looking forward to grow your family. Perhaps your kids' education, pilgrimage, retirement, life dreams, and also, but basically other goals that you want, that require finances. But the thing is, this financial tank is not well built. There's a leakage. There's a small leakage, which is tax and inflation. So, remember when we were young, perhaps our pocket money is just, I can't remember my pocket money really, but I feel that when I asked my sister, my younger sister, I was actually shocked that she got pocket money more than me. So yeah, so that is inflation. So that really shrinks our savings. But there are major leakages. It can be, I think property risk, or losing job, or perhaps get into accident, or perhaps hospitalization. So yeah, but when these are all affected, when we don't have income, okay, but when we lose job, so it will affect our savings as well, and we cannot fulfill our priorities. And perhaps if before this we are working towards few goals right now, perhaps if our income is affected, then that is when we can only fulfill one goal and work towards one goal. So yeah, our life priorities may be jeopardized when our income is uncertain. So this is basically the overall view, how we should view our financial management. Okay, so now let's see about how are we going to grow our net worth. Okay, there are 4 factors. Which first we have to reduce our financial risk. Well, I think since most of you are from outside, I think you guys will pretty agree with me about this, about financial risk. To cover the holes that the leakages that we talked about in the in the slides before this, the previous slide. And at the same time, we also need to reduce financial cost. So this is the thing like interest rates, or maybe you are getting unsuitable insurance policies. You are paying for something that is not suitable for you. So you should reduce financial cost as much as possible. Then only you can increase your savings, and then only we can look into growing our wealth. So now, how are we going to make sure that we are resilient? So tip number 1 is, first you have to list and record your assets, liabilities, savings, and expenses. This include commitments. Okay, so you have to review your income. Is your income stable? Is it affected, or will it be affected? Will you still get your allowances? So until when? So all those things, your employment status, what's your current situation? So yeah, list it, and make sure that you analyze your current situation. Okay, identify expenses that can be reduced or deferred. So discuss on lifestyle changes. So for example, perhaps, if you are married, for example, sometimes you have to maybe reduce your lifestyle a bit. So make sure that you talk to your spouse about this, about lifestyle changes, talk about it, and agree. Have a discussion and make sure that you are on the same page about this, because you know one of the issues that affecting couples, couples keep arguing with each other is actually because of finances. So review protection needs versus your sum covered. So how much you need actually, and how much do you have now. Split expenses between personal, businesses, and personal or family, and prepare a budget plan for the year and stick with it. So why do I say it's for the year? It's because sometimes most people prepare a monthly budget, but when you prepare a monthly budget, what you do is you are only looking at the monthly expenses, but there are things that you don't do it monthly. For example, things like kids annual fees, education, education annual fees. What do you call it? Well, that's it. So annual fees, or perhaps car insurance, or maintenance services, or so those kind of things. So if you prepare a budget, a monthly budget, but it's actually very tight and it can only make you survive for the month, that is when you start seeing that when you need to spend for annual things that you don't really frequently do it, then that is when you feel pain that month, painful that month. So yeah, make sure that you stick with it, and this somehow will help you reduce stress that caused by anxiety or worry. So this is basically an example that you can do. So split income expenses, savings, loan repayment. Why it's important for you to split loan repayment with expenses is because then you can see, my loan repayment is actually half of my income. So then you can see, that's the percentage. Because sometimes when you put it on the same category, then you find it, that's just an expenses. Then review and reduce unnecessary livelihood expenses. I think this one perhaps everyone will agree about needs and wants. The question is usually how are we going to make sure that we reduce this, right? Most people know this, but to follow through is difficult. Okay, so you have to make sure that you know needs and wants, because this, by determining which expenses is priority or must from the expenses that can be reduced and deferred. So you know that things like if you know there's your wants that perhaps you can defer later on when you are more stable. Tips number 2 is to build up emergency funding. So since, if you can see from the economic stimulus, you can see that most of the major things is about moratorium, right? So this is the time for you to take advantage to build your cash and pay high interest debts if needed. So reset your financial situation and pay off your debts, your high interest debts. So if possible, save from salary about 10% a month. Start small and grow from there. Consistency is key. So sometimes when you see, so when it comes to building up emergency funding, so you have to have at least 3 months to 6 months. So so sometimes when you don't have anything, you feel like, oh my God, to get to 6 months, it's kind of impossible. But then start small, start about 10% a month, just start small, and then maybe you can put as a milestone as 3 months, then target it to 6 months. So remember, that's in for a penny, in for a pound. So even though you put a penny, keep putting a penny, but after 100 days, then it will be a pound. So this is the ideal expenses ratio. So so basically it's 30% housing loan. It's not like the ideal, meaning that you have to really have this, but it also meaning that if you have less loan repayment, that it will be good. So 30% is the max out of your income. So make sure that you have, so this one is like 50%, right? So it's, the healthy one should be 30% for loan repayment, And yeah, so but if you got it less than 30%, then well done. Next is to improve cash flow through debt management. So reduce debt service ratio. So this debt service ratio, you calculate it from so it's basically the formula is your loan repayment, your debts over your income. So that is when you know that how much percentage of your income you are paying for debts. Okay, so if you have high debt service ratio, it means that you can only spend 30% and can only have 10% savings. But if you have less debt service ratio, it means that you can spend, okay, so if you spend 30% expenses and 30% savings, so it means that you can increase your savings, and plus what's another 10%? So that 10% perhaps you can enjoy it a bit. So so that is how you may, or well, perhaps you can also use it for expenses. So yeah, so and that is why this is the good time. It's a good time for you to pay high interest debts. So some of the techniques that you can do now is balance transfer, but since right now there's no that time, so it's term loan. So you can cover it with term loan, or perhaps you can do snowball technique, which means that if you, I think it's Dave Ramsey's way. You start, well, I'm not sure, but yeah, you can start by paying smallest amount of debt. So that is when you get more motivated. Oh, I've settled this debt, and then next is a bigger one. So that gives you more motivation to settle your debts. Or you can go for avalanche technique, which you settle the high interest rate one. And or you can also do debt consolidation, or well, the worst is to go for debt negotiation. And also something to ponder is, if you have high debts, will you be able to retire comfortably? So it's something for us to ponder, and because this somehow will affect us later on. Somehow we usually don't see this, but if you think about it, if you start working at the age of 25 and you wanted to retire at age 55, that's a 30 years of working. But your retirement phase, if you are going to retire at age 55, and let's say your life expectancy is 85, then it's another 30 years of no income. So that is why you need to be prepared now for another 30 years later when we retire, when we're already a retiree. So next is identify action plan. So this is first is, well, like we mentioned before, that first of all, when it comes to financial management, first is always about wealth creation. So when your income is affected, try to think about generating income. So perhaps there's a alternative of being a grocery shopper, or perhaps you can find things that you like to do as a hobby, or well, spring clean. Well, you can get some from there, and also upskill. So learn through online courses. So this is more relevant, perhaps. Well, it's not just for graduates, or but it is also for us. If you want to stay relevant, then upskill is the way. And also improve financial resiliency. Make sure that we don't depend on credit cards that much. Make sure we pay off our credit card. For example, sometimes if you use this time to settle off your credit card debts, then perhaps when this moratorium is over, you don't have to pay the what do you call this? The outstanding credit card, the outstanding monthly credit card for credit card. So that will help you later on as well. So and also, probability of increased future loan repayments, possibility of loss of income. So make sure that we are resilient towards this. So tip number 5 is, should I take the opportunity of investing now? So when you have set aside cash reserve, then you can. Why? Because it's important for you to put 6 months emergency savings first. Because if you don't, then if you use the money to invest, if you are to face this unanticipated event, like job loss, then you have no choice but to liquidate your investment, even though it's at a lower side. So you don't want this. Okay, so and also if you have no monthly cash deficit and you have paid off your high interest debts, then you can think about investing. But when you want to think about investing, try to think about the objectives of investing. Why this is important. So I've got lots of questions from Naluri users about should I invest in stocks? Should I invest in this? But the thing is, we have to go back to the purpose first. Why do you want to invest? If you have clear objectives, then you know your time horizon, how long you want to stay invested, when will you require this money? If not, then it will just be it will somehow cause you to panic selling, because when you see your investment is not doing good, because you have just general purpose of the investment, that is when you think, oh my god, my investment is when the investment is very low, then you started to sell it off. And also you also need to know that you have to have proper asset allocations, because diversifications of asset classes, so this will reduce risks. So if you have already put this in place, or please do invest, because this will create ripple effects into the economy, because from your investment injections, it means that companies get injections from you. So you are helping the economy. So if you are worried, should I liquidate my current investment? So like I said before, if you usually when you don't have this purpose, you will tend to get worried, especially because the purpose is so general. It's like usually people would say, I want to grow my wealth. So if you say that, then it will be every time. It means now. I even for me, I want to grow my wealth now. Later, 30 years after. So it's every time. So that is when you start to panic selling. So then you have to also look into, if you time the market, then if you stay invested, your return, if you can see here, your return can be up to 10.8%, for example. But if you missed best 10 days, missed best 10 days means that you liquidate the time where it is not high enough, for example. So then you've started to have lower return, which is 4.5%. That is if you missed best 10 days. But if you missed best 20 days, then the return is lower. So so you have to understand that you also have to understand that whatever your loss is actually a drop in investment versus versus realized losses. It's just unrealized losses. But if you feel worried, review your risk profile. Perhaps you may want to switch to lower risk fund if necessary. Okay. So I mentioned about the objectives. Then you have to make sure that you stay on the course of your investment planning. Like for example, if you know that you are going to, this is for retirement, then keep investing. Stay invested. Okay. So follow through with dollar cost averaging. So this is more on unit trust. Tips number 6 is get second opinion. So you have to go to get advice from a licensed financial planner. So you can, so if you want to know a licensed financial planner, you can actually search on Securities Commission website. So you can find the names, or easier way is get on Naluri and talk to us, because all of us are licensed financial planners. So we actually have professional certification, either CFP, RFP, or IFP. So all that's FP. So current situation, so I'm just going to say this is because most people thought that they are seeing financial planners, but the thing is there's only 1,013 of us in Malaysia. So the working ratio, the ratio to working adults is around 15,000 to 1. So this is so if you want to know, if someone tell you that they are financial planners, then you can search on Securities Commission their name. Okay, so seek unbiased professional help. So why independent financial planner and advisor is because, one, we have proactive service, expertise, and also you will, since we also kind of a one-stop center where when we are independent, it means that we have lots of products behind us. It means that we can compare across products in Malaysia that are available in the market. So perhaps your scenario may need product A, and perhaps your friend scenario may need product B. So that is when so you don't have to compare yourself. You just come to us and we'll help you. And also, less stress about that. Perhaps there are things that you may not be familiar with. Maybe about insurance you are very familiar with, but perhaps about other products. And also return on investment. So you have to think of a financial advisor as an investment. Find one that offers reasonable fees and focuses on your financial needs. If your financial advisor helps you save more money and make more money over time, so it is worth of expense. Okay, so as a summary, focus on financial strength and long-term resilience. So if you are not sure, come to our financial channel and talk to us. One of the things that I think I also noticed is perhaps if you are afraid that your data may leak, rest assured that everything is PNC. So there's a Data Protection Act. So we're not going to leak your info to your employer or anything. So talk to us. So so if you missed this, but I think Fabian said that the session is recorded, but just in case you want to listen to our talk. I mean, one of our director, and he was invited on BFM. So perhaps you can have a, well, is that a screenshot? Yep. Just go to that QR code and yeah, listen to it.